Hi everybody! Today I'm going to be talking about the most recent books I have read, specifically the ones that I read to finish out the month of June. I've been kind of procrastinating because there's a couple books that I really did not like, and I don't like talking about books I don't like, but I think it's an important part of BookTube. And I have a really exciting announcement, so I told myself I cannot talk about that until I do the reviews of the books that I didn't like. So here we go. So hi, my name's Talia. I like books, I like bandanas, and I am so glad you are here at my channel today. I have 4 books that I'm going to be reviewing today. All of these books I finished in the month of June. I already did a separate video on Project Hail Mary, which was amazing. So I'm not going to be talking about that again because I already did a full review, so if you want to check that out, you can. So this is going to be all the books I read after Project Hail Mary in June. And I think maybe Project Hail Mary ruined the month because it was so good that anything after that was like just not gonna add up. Anyways, let's get into what I read. So the first we're gonna talk about 2 NetGalley books that I read. The first one is called Birdsong by Katya, Balen. And this was marketed as middle grade fiction. I would put it more like later elementary. Like it read pretty young and was really short, very easy to get through. And I liked it. So it was a story about this girl who is in a car accident and she's no longer to play her instrument. I'm pretty sure it was a flute. It's been a while since I read it. I think it's a flute that she was playing and trying to get into this special music school, and she is no longer able to play anymore because of this car accident she was in. So she's kind of in this like little state of depression and just wants to stay at home and do nothing. And she makes this friend who kind of pulls her out of her shell and draws her out of her apartment, and they start taking care of these birds together, which kind of helps her like through her grieving process and helps her kind of heal emotionally and physically. So I thought it was really cute. Again, I wouldn't say like, I gave it 4 stars. I would say like an excellent middle grade fiction can be read standalone by adults as well, in my opinion. And I would feel like just as an adult reading this, it's kind of lacking in like just building up storyline and bonding with the characters. But I feel like if you have a middle grade or even an older elementary school student that's like suffering from any kind of loss or any kind of like tragedy or just any sort of difficulty, I feel like that would be a great book for them to read. I also looked up other books by this author, and she has written there was one on like autism in the family, and I think there was another on like blended families. So she kind of tackles like the harder topics for younger kids, and I thought that that was really neat. So I would definitely recommend checking out her work. And when I read this, it was still an advanced copy. I think it was released on July 7th. So we're like just past when this book is released. So it's available now for you to purchase. The second NetGalley book I read was a thriller, and it was The Little Red House by Liv Andersson. This book is not being released until December of this year. And so this is one of the books I just really didn't care for. The premise was good. So we have a girl, and she is, she's kind of been brought up in a super abusive, like, family. Like, her mom would, like, take her and, like, drop her off in a city and be like, there you go, here's $50, survive for 4 days, and like just leave her there. Like super bad, super abusive. And this mom ends up passing away and gives her like this house in this town that's like far away from where she ever lived. Like the daughter had no idea that this town existed. Gives her this like really rundown house and gives her twin sister like the majority of her fortune. So right away there's like this disconnect, and the sisters aren't allowed to like share what they have, and it's just this really weird like situation. So we follow the sister who's in the house of this mother who abused her and was very evil to her, and she's basically in this house trying to figure out like, why am I here, what's happening, and at this time this string of murders is going on around in this little town, and she's trying to figure out why it's happening, and no one will really tell her why. So we kind of go from there. So things I didn't like as the storyline progressed, it just didn't feel believable. It didn't feel believable that this girl would stay in this town and keep investigating, and everyone keeps going, no, we can't talk about it. No, we can't talk about it. No, it's probably said that like 50 times. It just felt like it just didn't feel believable. I also felt like there was just content put in that didn't need to be in there. Like graphic descriptions that didn't need to be there, sexual content that it just felt forced, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't flowing with the story. It just felt like, bleh. And the characters just weren't likable. Like, a lot of the book was just like unlikable characters doing unlikable things, and it just wasn't for me. I felt like there was so much potential. I will say, the twist in the end of this book, I did not see coming, and I really liked. So it gets a 2-star. Like, it almost pushed it up to a 3-star because I thought the twist in the ending was good. I thought it wrapped up well. And I was glad that I kept reading. I almost, like, halfway through, I was like, kind of want to DNF this, but it's a NetGalley. I was like, I want to be able to give it a full, honest review. And I was glad I stuck around to the end. So do with that what you will. You know, it's hard because I hate giving bad reviews, but then you go on Goodreads and like every book has 5-star reviews, every book has 1-star reviews. You know what I mean? Like there's middle ground, there's people that love every book and that hate every book. So it is what it is. I felt like this book could have been much better, but the end really I enjoyed. So that's what I have to say about that. Both those NetGalley reviews. I want to share my announcement now because it feels like a good time. So I have been on NetGalley just for like a couple of months, and I haven't gotten any books that I like really wanted to read yet. I get approved for like these books that I haven't really heard of the authors or don't really know what's going on, and then I just read them and don't really know what I'm getting into. But a while back, I put in a request for Amari and the Great Game, which is B. Alston's second book in the series that's coming out in August, and I got approved for it. So I'm so excited, and basically so I found out like 2 or 3 days ago that I got approved for it, and I basically dropped everything. I'm in like 5 group reads this month. I'm like, well, let's put all these down. And I've just been reading Amari and the Great Game because I read Amari and the Night Brothers earlier this year and I loved it. It's like my favorite middle grade fantasy of the year. And let me just say, I'll do a full review on this at some point, but let me just say the second book is not disappointing. It's so good. I'm loving it. He's just very good at writing middle grade fantasy. I think the world he has created is amazing. And I love Amari, and yeah, so that's what I'm really excited about. So my next NetGalley review, I'm like 60% through. It's gonna be a 5-star unless something crazy happens. But I think, yeah, my next NetGalley review should be a good one. So keep your eyes peeled for that. If you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe because then you'll be able to see my review on that. You won't miss it. Okay. So back on track with the reviews for that month. See, I was so excited. I was like, I can't wait anymore. Oh my gosh. Okay, so 2 more books we have to talk about that I read in the month of June. Both of these were YA, and I didn't really enjoy either of them. One was okay, one I didn't enjoy. I think what I'm discovering is I don't really like YA. There's always too much like teenage angst, like awkward romance scenes, and I'm like, ugh, and I feel like it's so common in YA that I'm feeling like I just want to put that aside for a while and not read any more YA. I really like middle grade. I feel like I'm really jiving with pretty much all the middle grade books I read. The YA just isn't doing it for me. So anyways, the books I read were Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs, and Ballad and Dagger by Daniel Jose Older. So let's talk about Ballad and Dagger first. So Ballad and Dagger I found out about because I read a review, or I saw a review actually on YouTube, an interview that Rick Riordan was doing with Daniel Jose Older. And they were talking about this new book and how great it was and how magical and how it had like a little bit of everything. And it really like hyped up this book. And then I ended up like accidentally putting it on hold in the library instead of putting it on my Goodreads account, and this book was in my house. So I ended up reading it. And it just didn't live up to the hype at all for me. So this book is about, there's this magical island that was in the middle of the ocean, like down in the Caribbean somewhere. And this island ends up sinking down into the ocean like 15 years prior to when this story takes place. And all the people from the island are now living in New York in kind of this like little neighborhood that they've kind of like claimed for themselves as, this is our turf, stay away from our turf. And when Rick Riordan was talking about this, even in the book, there's like an intro and it's like, this is the book about the island you wish that had been real because it's so magical and you just love it and you wish it was there. Like, I feel like Rick Riordan didn't even read this book, honestly. Like, harsh, but like, there was no magical feelings towards this island. Like, they talk a little bit about like, oh, there was this island, but basically this book was just all about this like kind of political like turf war between these different people that were on the island that like they thought it was wonderful, but it wasn't wonderful, and now they're just all fighting about like if they want the island to come back or not. And it was just not magical at all for me. I felt like the plot progression was just kind of hard to follow. Like, it was hard to visualize this city they were in and what was going on. The main character was okay, and he kind of got this magical power that was interesting, but then it just didn't seem like it ever really went anywhere that I cared about, if that makes sense. I did give it 2 stars because the character was pretty awkward, like the main character, especially in the first half, and he said some pretty funny things. Like at one point he's like, if someone asks you to do burpees, they're like trying to kill you. So like I thought that like I related to that. So I liked that. But overall, like I was skimming by the end. I was just like, okay, does the island come back or not? And then like I thought the end was weird, honestly. Like the way it ended, I was just like, huh, what? Like it was just meh. It didn't live up to any expectations I had for it based on the hype I had seen built up on this book. So sorry, Rick Riordan, sorry, Daniel Jose Older, didn't dig it. Next, I was actually listening to at the same time I was reading, well, not like exactly at the same time, but the book I had in my hands was Ballad and Dagger, and my audiobook for housework and stuff was Peculiar Children. And Peculiar Children was better. Still had kind of the YA angst thing going on that I did not love, but I liked the storyline better. I thought it flowed well. So it's about this kid named Jacob, and as Jacob's growing up, his grandfather tells him these stories about growing up when he was younger in this home with all these children that had peculiar qualities. So like magical things they could do, magical things that happened around the house, that sort of thing. So he kind of believes him when he was younger. As he grows up, he does not believe this anymore. But then he witnesses his grandfather pass away by kind of like a mysterious means. And so then he wants to go to this island where this peculiar home was to try to figure out what happened to his grandfather and how much of his story is true or not. So he ends up going with his dad and exploring this house, and things kind of go from there. So I liked the plot. I thought it was creative and I liked where it went. Again, I just kind of had a hard time bonding with the characters. I felt like it could have been more magical. Like it didn't make me like love the children. It kind of was just like, okay, everyone's here. And I didn't really love the ending either. So I don't know, this book, like where Ballad and Dagger, I was really like, oh no, bleh, don't like this. Peculiar Children, I was just kind of like, oh, you know, take it or leave it. Like it's a 3-star. It was fine. I don't feel any need to continue reading it. It's a book I'm like, oh, I'm glad I read that. Now I know when people are talking about Peculiar Children, what it's about. I know there was like movies as well. I never watched those. So now I know what it's about, but yeah, it didn't wow me. It didn't get me excited. For me to like give a book 4 or 5 stars, I have to like feel something. Even if it's like feeling like pain or angst or like sadness or anger, I have to like feel something. And I never really felt much. Even the end, there's like some like exciting scenes, like, and I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. So that was a bummer. And it's interesting because June wasn't the greatest month for me, like, around here. So I sometimes don't know, like, is it the books that are making things bad around here? Or is it me that's, like, reading when I'm in a bad mood and making these books bad? Or is it just, like, they're two separate things? I don't know. I do know July is going so much better. And so I'm, like 60-70% through Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I'm loving that. I'm obviously reading Amari and the Great Game. That's pretty much all I'm reading right now. I'm like shooting through that. So I'm loving that. Persuasion by Jane Austen is a tough one for me because I'm not super used to reading classics, but I'm enjoying that as well. I'm not hating it, so that's going well also. Haven't started Girl Who Drank the Moon yet, but I'm excited for that as well. So I feel like July, there shouldn't be any like depressing, I hated these book videos at the end of July. It should be like pretty smooth sailing unless there's like big surprises and BB Alston kills off Amari or something, which I don't see happening, but you never know. So yeah, that's all. I got through it. Whew. It's hard to talk about books that I don't like, but it is what it is. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are. I hope you're having a good summer. One other thing that happened is we were supposed to go camping this week and my kids all got so sick, like hacking, gagging, fevers. So we had to cancel our camping trip. And it was after we like went and bought all the stuff because this is going to be like our first big camping trip as a family. So we bought all the stuff and then we just stayed home. I was a little sick. I'm feeling better now. But the good news is now we have all the stuff and we can set up a later time to go camping. And we will. Or we'll just camp in the backyard and have a big practice run. So yeah, it's fine. It's all good. So anyways, as I was saying, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. I hope you take some time today to read some good books. And if you are having a bad hair day, just wear a bandana. Bye.